Hello, thanks for stopping by Trauma and True Crime. So today I am going to react to the second drop of the Today Show interview done by Savannah Guthrie of Amber Heard. Now yesterday I did a reaction on my other channel, Checkmate Humanity, but that one was focused on the social media aspect of what Amber was saying because a lot of that interview focused on social media. Today's interview had a lot more to do with just her relationship with Johnny and how she was responding to the trial. So I wanted to put that on this channel because that's more germane to what I talk about on this channel, which is how trauma and true crime go hand in hand, and how people who have trauma, hurt each other and become, either more traumatized in their adult lives or traumatizers in their adult lives, or sometimes they can be both. And that's what I want to bring attention to so that we can kind of stop the cycle of transgenerational trauma. More interviews of her are going to be coming out, and if there is something important, I think, to analyze, then I will continue to analyze the clips or the interviews as they're dropped. And I also anticipate, knowing what I know about the media and how the celebrities work and stuff like that, Johnny may end up doing an interview as well. He's much more press shy. He doesn't do as many, of these kind of big network TV interviews. But if he does, I'll definitely analyze that as well, because I think he deserves the same kind of reaction as Amber does. So with that, let's get into the analysis of the clip that dropped today of her interview with Savannah Guthrie.
Johnny promises total global humiliation for you. Do you feel like that came true? I know he promised it.
All right, y'all. So I want to start this by saying, when I saw the text from Johnny in the trial saying that he is going to promise her total global humiliation, I did take a pause, because that's very intimidating. Coming from a more powerful person than her, like Johnny, is kind of bullying behavior. However, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind. Johnny Depp tends to speak in kind of big terms like that, impactful terms. So I'm not saying that he should have said that, but I'm saying that you can see him saying something like that after being called a wife beater. I don't know right now, as I'm sitting here, what the date was of that text, but I believe it was after she had called him a wife beater. And if that's true, and if he did send that after she called him that, and it wasn't true, I understand why he would say something like that. But for her to sit here, let's watch this reaction to that, just that question again. Look how she makes it look as though she's suffering the total global humiliation in that moment for the first time ever. She wants us to see her as a victim of all of this circumstance, without taking any recognition of her own behavior and how it's added to this.
True.
Her little lip goes out. See how she's looking at Savannah like, are you seeing my pain? Please recognize my pain. And it was almost like, I'm so happy that you're asking that question because you see my pain. She's milking it.
He promised it. I testified to this. I'm not a good victim. I get it. I'm not a likable victim. I'm not a perfect victim. But
now there is this concept of a perfect victim. I don't really love that whole concept of a perfect victim, but it does call to attention the fact that when the courts and law enforcement are looking at somebody and whether they're a victim or not, they look at that person's behavior, and they look at whether that person was provocative or intentionally provocative, or doing things to push that other person.
When I testified, I asked the jury to just see me.
But I think there's a difference between not being a perfect victim, the way, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's no perfect I believe that there are no perfect victims. That when it gets to the level of physical violence, and then when it gets to the level, this global scale, anybody who's being regularly provoked is going to react in ways that they probably wouldn't normally react or don't want to react, but not regularly and lie about it over and over and over. And if you were to look at both of these two people as victims, who is the more imperfect victim? She is far more imperfect, and that's why she's in the position that she's in right now.
As human, and hear his own words, which is a promise to do this, it feels as though he has.
Amber Heard reflecting on the ripple effects of her tumultuous trial with Johnny Depp. Having been found liable, are you nervous, as we are here today, about what you can say now?
Of course. I took.
So on the video on my other channel, there are a lot of comments about how she's probably defaming him again. And you know what? That's not for me to say. I'm not a lawyer. I think LawTube probably has a lot to say about that, and I'll listen to them. It seems to me like she's continuing to defame him, and that goes to show that she has not learned anything through this exercise, that she continues the same behavior after being found by a jury to have defamed him. It's interesting to me.
Granted, what I assumed was my right to speak.
Do you feel like you could be sued again by him for defamation?
I'm scared that no matter what I do, no matter what I say or how I say it, every step that I take will present another opportunity for...
That's another excuse to me. No, you make a choice every single time you talk. You make a choice with every single one of your actions. There are situations where you're in such a dysfunctional relationship that literally nothing you could do would be okay. But she was the one playing that role with him, not vice versa. She was the one playing the role of nothing you do meets my standards. Nothing you do is okay. So she's painting herself as the person who all these people are just picking apart all these things that she's been doing for no reason. There's a very good reason for us to pick apart what she's been doing.
This sort of silencing, which is what I guess the defamation lawsuit is meant to do.
A defamation lawsuit, when it is filed with the correct intention, is not to get somebody to stop speaking. And that is how she's conflating things. She sees a lawsuit on defamation as a lawsuit against her ability to speak. No, it's against her ability to lie on such a grand scale that it changes the course of someone's career and reputation, when that is the thing that matters the most in their industry.
To take your voice.
But Amber is still speaking just days after a jury stunned many and found the actress defamed Depp in an op-ed where she said she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. The piece, which never mentioned Depp by name, was...
And that's the other thing. She's now a public figure. I think there's a notion that being a public figure means that you get to say more with your platform, and that you have certain protections as a public figure. The only protection you have against defamation when you're a public figure is the fact that you have that kind of a platform and a power to be able to fight against claims of defamation. But you, as a public figure, are not protected from people speaking about you. They have to have shown that they had real malice and they knew that what they were saying was wrong and a lie, and that they did it intentionally. And they showed with this verdict that that is what she did to him.
published 2 years after the couple announced they had settled their divorce. Life had seemingly moved on, and you decide to write an op-ed. Did you do that?
Because the op-ed wasn't about my relationship with Johnny.
But it alluded to.
Do you see how she says that? Kind of like, oh, you stupid people. You stupid people. Don't you see? That wasn't an op-ed about Johnny. You must see it like the way I do. But no, we see through your semantics. They proved in court that you were absolutely going after Johnny.
It was unmistakable.
What the op-ed was about was, me loaning my voice to a bigger cultural conversation that we were having at the time.
Did you worry? Gosh, I'd love to be a person weighing in on these cultural issues, but that's going to stir this all up again.
I obviously knew it was important for me not to make it about him or to do anything like defame him. I had lawyers, teams of lawyers, review all the drafts of this.
When you wrote this op-ed, it was the height of Me Too. Legions of powerful men being canceled, losing their jobs. Did you want that to happen to Johnny Depp?
Of course not. Of course not. It wasn't about him.
But the op-ed and the abuse alleged was at the heart of the 6-week trial.
Just pulls his arm back with the phone and throws it at my face. Hit me right in my...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Johnny tell a story about how she threw a can of mineral spirits or something like that at his face and it hit him near the eye? And Amber apparently has a tendency to appropriate other people's interactive violence situations and make them her own. And I almost feel like that's what she was doing here, but I could be wrong about that.
Felt like my eye.
Heard testified that the final straw came after a violent fight in May 2016. 6 days later, she filed for a restraining order, cameras capturing her as she left the courthouse. But Depp's lawyers convinced the jury
I talked all about that in my last video on this channel about all of this, so you can see my comments about that whole publicity situation there.
Was lying about the abuse. Police who responded to the 2016 incident testified during the trial that they didn't see any injuries and that Heard declined to file charges.
This was a hoax, according to his team. Why didn't I cooperate with the police? As I've testified before, and I will stand by until my dying day, I didn't want to cooperate with them. I didn't want this to be out. I didn't want this to be known. I didn't want to cooperate with them because I didn't want to get him in trouble. If it was a hoax, I could have done that.
But 5 days later, you went to court and it came out.
5 days later, I made the decision to stand up for myself and protect myself. You can't get a restraining order in private, which of course I didn't understand the night.
But there is a private entrance you can use when you're a celebrity and you have to go to court.
When the cops are called.
An employee of TMZ testified at court and said that TMZ was tipped off about when you were going to be going to the courthouse and on what side of your face errand. Did you tip off TMZ?
I was going to say, it certainly didn't get tipped off by me or anyone in my...
tip off TMZ?
Why would they? No.
See, she keeps answering questions by asking questions like, why would I do that? Why would I do that?
No one to do that.
As I testified to before, it had nothing to do with me.
There are different incidents that you testified to, and the Depp legal team would put up pictures of you publicly right after that or in the days following and saying that why are there no bruises?
Again, it's that thing. If you have bruising, if you have injuries, it's fake. If you don't have any, then you weren't injured.
You had promised to donate the $7 million of your divorce settlement to charity. It was revealed at trial that you haven't done so yet. However, they played a tape where you stayed on the air that you have donated it. Do you think that raised questions as to your credibility with the jury?
I made a pledge, and that pledge is made over time by its nature. And
when you say I donated, you know that everybody thinks that you've donated it, not that you've pledged it. So for the jurors sitting there, do you think they felt like that was you getting caught in a lie?
I don't know, because I feel like so much of the trial was meant to cast aspersions on who I am as a human.
Her absolute insistence on continuing this line of I pledged it, that means I donated, is absolutely hair-pullingly infuriating to me. Again, insulting our intelligence. You know what? When I was something like 6 or 7 years old, I was watching the Jerry Lewis telethon, and they were, asking for people to call in and make donations. And I remember I called in and I was like, I pledge $1.50, right? And I felt all good about myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the board. They see my $1.50. And then I got an envelope in the mail saying, okay, we want your $1.50 now. And my mom's like, what the hell did you do? And at least it was just $1.50. But that was when I learned, when I was 6, 7 years old, that a pledge does not mean a donation. Okay?
And my credibility, to call me a liar in every way you can. And
that was the trial. It was a credibility contest.
And
that was it.
Credibility means a hell of a lot in a trial. You know why? Because the people who are the finders of fact don't know you. They really don't know you. The only way they're going to get to know you is by listening to your testimony. And if your testimony is not credible, you're not credible. If your testimony is less credible than the testimony of the person you're against, they're likely going to find on that other person unless the facts are just mounted against them.
This is another one of the examples where if you pull back and you think about it, I shouldn't have to have donated it in an effort to be believed. I shouldn't have had to earmark.
That drives me insane. Donations are not made. A person who's making a donation needs to be making it to help that situation, not to look a certain way. And she hasn't even gotten it into her mind that making a pledge like that is not for your public image. It's to help the charity.
Entirety of that in order to have...
You shouldn't have, but once you said you did.
Right, which is where it was intended to go.
Heard says she still plans to honor that pledge.
How do you see your future now? I get to be a mom, like, full time.
Go do that.
Not
Go
having
be a
to
mom.
juggle
Be a good
calls with lawyers.
One day you may want to tell your daughter about this or have to tell your daughter about everything that you've gone through. What would you want to say?
I think no matter what, it will mean something. I did the right thing.
She should have just left it at that. It will mean something. And she might think in her head that she did the right thing, but she didn't. It's been shown over and over and over that she didn't. And I have to believe that by the time her child gets to an age where her child will understand this, that Amber will have a much different explanation than I did the right thing.
I did everything I could to stand up for myself and the truth.
Heard and Depp's volatile relationship lasted just 4 years. Depp confirming his engagement to me on Today in 2014.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you excited?
Yeah, very. She's a wonderful girl. She's...
Listen to the last thing he says, which is always a telltale sign to me about the trajectory of that potential relationship. Just listen.
She's sharp as a tack. It's, wonderful, Southern belle, and sweet as can be, and very good for me.
And very good for me. That means that you are seeing that another person is going to change you for the better, that there's something inherently wrong with you, and that person is better in some way, and that is going to make you better. If you're in a relationship where you're saying this person's going to make me better, that is something to rethink.
First day of the trial, you issued a statement, and part of the statement said, I still have love for Johnny.
Yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
After everything?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love him. I loved him with all my heart. And I tried the best I could to make a deeply broken relationship work. And
I'm not going to doubt how she feels about him. I think she does think she still loves him. But I personally, based on her actions, I don't think she understands what love is.
I couldn't. I have no bad feelings or ill will towards him at all. I know that might be hard to understand, or it might be really easy to understand if you've just...
I'm sorry, but here's my take on this. If she really was as brutalized as she said she was, the kind of abuse that she described was paramount. It was big. And it's just hard for me to believe that she would be this ready to say that I still love him as a human being after being that brutal. That to me says that she matches that brutality. Sorry, that's what it says to me.
Never loved anyone. It should be easy.
Depp's attorneys have said they do not see the verdict in this case as a setback to victims of domestic violence coming forward. Heard's legal team has said they do plan to...
No, in fact, I see it as a step forward for understanding that domestic violence is not gender specific. It's not race specific. It's not religion specific. It's not geographically located. Domestic violence happens everywhere, even to one of the world's biggest stars. So there you have it. There's my analysis of the next video drop. More videos drop. I will continue to do analysis if it's relevant. Please remember to like, subscribe, do all the notification bell types of things so that you know when my next video appears. And remember, you don't know what's going on in the private lives of people around you, so please be kind everywhere, anywhere, to anyone. Peace out.